Yeah. Nighttime I see diamonds in the sky. Daytime I see sunlight shining bright. If I'm alive, how can I not testify of your love, your love, your love? Yeah. Your love, your love, your love. Yeah.
Hello, welcome to True Prevails. Today's episode, I'm going to walk through some scriptures with a Jehovah Witness that I saw on the street and get their reaction to these two scriptures that basically tell us that Jesus is Yahweh, and how the Old Testament and the New Testament are in harmony. And if you don't hold the Trinitarian view, your worldview doesn't make sense, and you're not reading the Bible in harmony and in context, and you're not being truthful with the scriptures. I'm also going to include a little short video from Dr. James White that as he explains these two passages that I walked through with the Jehovah's Witnesses.
What are you guys selling?
We're selling nothing.
Nothing.
We're just these are just publications that are free to the public, and it talks about
everybody because
it's all Bible, all about based on the Bible.
Oh, the Bible?
Yeah.
Oh, Jehovah's Witnesses?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
But if you'd like to read something, there's a nice one about the 10 answers to 10 questions from the Bible, for young people.
Yeah. I studied the Bible a little bit, and the Bible says we should test everything and like hold fast to what is good, right? It's First Thessalonians, and I study like all religions, and now with the Jehovah's Witnesses, I haven't did a study with them and gotten to this point, but it's like, what do you do when your Bible calls Jesus Jehovah?
Jehovah is the Father.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus is the Son.
All right.
Because Jesus will say, I'm not here to do my will, but I'm doing the will of my Father. So Jehovah in Isaiah 83:18. Oops.
You said Isaiah?
Yeah.
That's why we're at that stage. All the stuff.
Isaiah.
Which chapter?
Oops.
Well, I've been waiting for God been fixing this for over 5 years.
Psalms, I'm sorry.
Oh, Psalms.
I was going to say, there's no 83 in Isaiah.
It's all right.
That's okay.
I'm waiting to go to heaven.
Okay. 83:18.
18?
Yeah.
That they may know that you alone, whose name it is the Lord, are the Most High over all the earth.
Well, yeah, a lot of Bibles have changed it to Lord,
Mm-hmm.
and it's whose name is Jehovah, the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
That's our, hold on, let me go back. And if we get here to the King James Version.
I try to keep playing. And the experience that I have.
So it's not only, some Bibles have replaced Jehovah with Lord,
Okay.
and some haven't. At one time, there was 7,000 times that Jehovah was put into the Bible.
Okay.
And they've taken most of them out.
Well, they're saying that God's a man.
So if we do go back to, this is the King James Version,
Okay.
and it says the same thing, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Jehovah, art the Most High.
But when I'm reading, even the New World Translation says it. Can I show you? Because in
Sometimes they do use Lord instead of Jehovah, but
no, where it's calling Jesus Jehovah in Psalm 102.
no,
I don't know if you ever ran it. I don't know if you ever passed over this scripture, but it's Psalm 102.
We're going off the subject. I can show you that one too.
Are you there? Okay. Verse 25. So 25 it says, "Oh, of old you laid the foundation of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands." 26, they will perish, but you will remain. They will all wear out like a garment. You will change them like a robe, and they will pass away. But you are the same, and your years have no end. So that's telling me Jehovah is the same. He never changes, and he laid the foundation of the earth, and he's the creator of all things, right?
Him and his son. Jesus is also, Jehovah created the earth, and then Jesus helped with everything else. This is talking about Jesus.
That's talking about Jesus.
Yes.
But why does Isaiah say that God did it alone? Jehovah says, "I did it alone with no help." This is only talking to Jehovah, right? Because if you look at 21, verse 21, it says that they may declare in Zion the name of the Lord. So you read that? You've been taught that talked about Jesus. That's talking about Jesus. And even in verse 1, it says a prayer of one afflicted when he is faint. It says, "Oh, hear my prayer, O Jehovah." He's talking to Jehovah.
So he's praying to Jehovah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So when I read that, it says, "Oh, you who," in context, he has to be talking to Jehovah, right?
He is. He's praying to Jehovah at that point. Yes.
Yeah. So then,
So that is Jehovah is the Father.
yeah. So he's telling Jehovah, "You laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands." So he's calling Jehovah the creator of all things, right?
Yes, he is.
All right. So then, if you go to Hebrews 1.
I know what I'm facing. You know what I'm saying? I read the Bible. I know what the Bible is saying.
Hebrews 1. You there already?
I know exactly word for word. I've been trying to find peace. For 5 years I've been trying to find peace.
Yeah, this is slow.
Yeah, something good happened to me. It's like this. They got to me so much that emotionally, no.
Oh, in verse 8, I think this. Verse 8. Tell me when you're there. I'll tell you when I'm there.
They wanted me to do something.
In verse 8, it says, but, you start at verse 6. And again, he brings the firstborn into the world. He says, "Lord, let all angels worship him." I know yours says obeisance. We'll skip over that. Of the angels, he says, so he's talking to the angels. He makes his angels winds, and the ministers a flame of fire. And then verse 8 is where the key comes in, because it says, but to the Son, he says, so he's talking to the Son, "Your throne, O God, is forever and ever. The scepter of unrighteousness is the scepter of your kingdom. You have loved righteousness and hated wickedness. Therefore, God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of gladness and companions." And it says, well, the verse 10 says, and, so he's still talking to the Son.
Talking about the Son.
We're talking to the Son, because verse 8 says he's talking to the Son, right? Verse says 8, and to the Son, he says, so he's talking to the Son. And then verse 10, and he says, "You, Lord, laid the foundation of the earth in the beginning, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They may perish, but you remain, and they will all wear out like a garment, and like a robe will roll them up, and like a garment they will change. But you are the same, and your years have no end." So we see the same quotation where the Father's Jesus is the Father's attributed Jesus as the creator of all things, and in the Psalms it's talking to Jehovah, right? Have you ever studied that passage?
Yeah, I've read them. I've read a lot of them, but no, it's Jesus will be the king of the king from the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
Jesus will be the ruler of the kingdom for the 1,000-year reign.
Yeah.
Until Jehovah puts all his enemies underneath his feet. That's what that's talking about, is him being forever.
Where do you see that? Because if I read this, if I'm just reading that, it's saying Jesus is he laid the foundation. But Jehovah says, "I did it alone."
To him around the world, he's having fame, he's having fun.
Isaiah 43, Jehovah says himself, I laid it alone. You never studied that passage?
That is not righteous.
So it's a clear distinction where Psalms is being quoted and attributed to Jesus. You never read that? You never studied that?
Look, your mind and your heart follows the same thing. Don't
Can I show you one more?
Okay.
It's like this. When your question.
I just want to show you one more. I was just showing some passage where it gets kind of.
I'm not doing a good job of explaining, so I need
Yeah,
help
yeah.
explaining.
Yeah, I don't want to bummer. I just didn't know if you had studied this, so I just want to.
Well, yeah, we studied.
Is it about the Trinity?
No. It's just there's places, in
different
Hebrew.
things about. Yeah, we were into where in Psalms where David is praying to Jehovah, talking about being the creator of everything. Psalm 102.
102.
Yeah. And then he went to Hebrews.
Where the Father's calling the Son the Creator. And
Yeah, so you're talking about the Trinity.
well, not the Trinity. I'm just wondering, like, in your studies, that you study this, when Jehovah and Jesus is called Jehovah in the New Testament, how did you handle that in your study?
Because Jesus is not called Jehovah in the New Testament.
Okay.
Jesus is the Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ is the title, right?
Yep.
Is the anointed one. And Jehovah is his father. There's nowhere in the New Testament that I have ever read, and I read the New Testament pretty thoroughly, not just from our Bible, but I've checked it from other Bibles. There's nowhere in the New Testament that it says Jehovah is Jesus.
Can I show you one?
Yeah.
In John 12? Let's go to John 12. We saw the Psalms one, but we can look at one more in John 12.
What's the Psalm one? 83:18?
No. It's Psalm 102, 25 to 27.
Whatever since then, it's showing me really how much God loved me. It's showing me that the people that did no sense ever in my life showed me how God loves me. So,
John 12, tell me where you're in there.
if I had all the money, God showed me I wasn't worthy of that. That's what God showed me. He showed me I wasn't worthy of that. So if I'm not worthy of that, I'm not worthy of my mother, I'm not worthy of none.
All right, John 12 what?
Yeah, John 12. So Jesus is finishing his ministry.
12 what?
And we're going to look at verse 39. Actually, 38. 38. We'll go from 38. 10 million there.
So Jesus said to them, "The light is among you for a little while longer. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you. The one who walks in the darkness does not know where he is going. While you have the light, believe in the light, that you may become sons of light." When Jesus had said these things, he departed and hid himself from them. Though he had done so many signs before them, they still did not believe in him, so that the words spoken by the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. "Lord, who has believed what he heard from us, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed?" Therefore they could not believe. For again Isaiah said, "He has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, lest they see with their eyes and understand with their heart, and turn, and I would heal them." Isaiah said these things because he saw his glory and spoke of him. Nevertheless, many even of the authorities believed in him, but for fear of the Pharisees they did not confess it, so that they would not be put out of the synagogue, for they loved the glory that comes from man more than the glory that comes from God.
So in context, this is...
Jesus is quoting from the prophet Isaiah.
Yep.
When Isaiah was saying that these people are blinded because Isaiah was the one who said, "Here I am, send me." And
Yep.
he went and he preached. He preached to people who like you said, was blinded.
Yep.
They weren't hearing it. So Jesus was talking to, if I'm not mistaken, the Pharisees here.
Yep. And the key verse is 41. Isaiah said these things because he saw his glory and spoke of him. Right? In the context, that's talking about Jesus.
Yeah.
And now, where's this referencing? This is in your Bible. If you click on 41, it's going to tell you that references Isaiah 6.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm distracted.
No,
right
yeah,
now.
41.
Isaiah 6:1. Yes, Isaiah. That's where.
6:1.
Yeah.
So if Isaiah, if you
And
ask, if you can read that verse real quick.
Yeah. In the year that King Uzziah died, I, however, got to see Jehovah sitting upon the throne, lofty, lifted up. Right. Isaiah was in a vision. He saw that in a vision.
So if Isaiah saw Jehovah, but John saying he saw Jesus.
No, because Jesus is speaking here.
Yeah, but
Jesus is the one speaking here in John. Jesus is speaking here, quoting Isaiah.
Yeah, but and it's saying Isaiah saw Jesus' glory.
No, it says
41.
Jehovah.
How does it read in yours? 41, verse 41 of John 12. And it says Isaiah said these things because he saw his glory and spoke of him.
Right, but referring to Jesus. Referring to Jesus. Referring to Jehovah.
Well, in Jehovah.
Referring to Jehovah.
Well, in Jehovah, because in Isaiah, that means.
All right, you prove. Show me this. Jesus is quoting from what Isaiah said.
What John
and what Jesus is quoting Isaiah.
Yeah.
And Isaiah was because Uzziah wrongly took the incense and went into but Isaiah, however, in that vision of here I am, send me, got to see the glory of Jehovah.
You saw Jehovah, right?
Right, the glory of Jehovah. He didn't see Jehovah.
You saw the glory.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so Jesus is just quoting. He's quoting everything Isaiah just said, not that he was referring to himself. You have, I mean, there's
I want to read it. I want to show you because I hear what you're saying. You're saying, well, it's saying in this context, he's not saying that he saw the glory of Jesus, right?
No.
Okay, so can we just read it?
He's quoting what Isaiah said, that I got to see the glory of Jehovah.
All right.
Jesus is quoting him saying that.
I just want to read that passage again so we can see it in John 12.
Starting where again?
We'll start from 37.
Okay.
36.
So Jesus said to them, "The light is among you for a little while longer. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you. The one who walks in the darkness does not know where he is going. While you have the light, believe in the light, that you may become sons of light." When Jesus had said these things, he departed and hid himself from them. Though he had done so many signs before them, they still did not believe in him, so that the words spoken by the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. "Lord, who has believed what he heard from us, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed?" Therefore they could not believe, for again Isaiah said, "He has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, lest they see with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn, and I would heal them." Isaiah said these things because he saw his glory and spoke of him. Nevertheless, many even of the authorities believed in him, but for fear of the Pharisees they did not confess it, so that they would not be put out of the synagogue, for they loved the glory that comes from man more than the glory that comes from God.
42 is the key of talking about who Isaiah is talking about in 41. Because 42 says, nevertheless, many even of these authorities believed in him.
In Jesus.
Not for the fear of the Pharisees. They did not confess it, so that they would not be put out of the synagogue. So my question would be, so you're saying in 41, does the context change from Jesus to Jehovah when that whole passage is talking about?
No, only because Jesus is quoting. If Jesus was not quoting Isaiah, then possibly it could be that he was referring to himself. But the fact that Jesus from the get-go was quoting from Isaiah, if I took a quote and I broke up the quote, it doesn't change the quote any. The quote is the same.
But
you understand where I'm coming from?
No, I understand, but does that change when he doesn't quote about the glory? He's not talking about the glory part?
No.
He's quoting about hardening their eyes.
Right.
And then 41...
He's also saying that I mean, I don't know how else to explain it to you other than only because we know from the get-go, back in Genesis said, "Let us make man in our image." So Jesus was present back then. So
he did pre-exist?
Huh?
He did pre-exist?
Oh, yeah. Jesus even said he says, "I was before you ever came into the world."
Yeah.
He told the Pharisees that when he said, "You're from your father, the devil," right? And he went on to say that I was in existence before the world came to be. But so that was that. And then so many prophecies and throughout the Hebrew scriptures refer to Jesus. And now people will say that I and the Father are one, or presume that that is to be Jehovah, but it's one in thought. So I guess from my hardcore study of the Bible, I have never seen where Jesus and Jehovah have been one, because Jesus never claimed, he said he never, even Philippians said he never claimed to be equal to God. And then again in Corinthians, when Corinthians 15, 1 Corinthians, I think it's 1 Corinthians 15, Jesus is the hand. When he takes care of all of God's enemies, he subjects everything to the God the Father, it says, with the exception of one, and that is with Jesus. And then Jesus submits himself to the Father, so that God can be all things to all people.
Okay.
So that's how we do believe on that Jesus is never claimed, never will be, never was.
Yeah. So okay.
Jehovah.
So in verse 41, who's the him that's referring to?
Isaiah.
No.
Isaiah is referring to,
when he saw his glory and spoke of him.
Isaiah's saw the glory of Jehovah, but it's not Jesus. It is the glory of Jehovah.
That's what I'm saying, because it's 42 when it says they believed in him. Like you're saying, that means the context has to change. It goes from talking about Jehovah to Jesus.
Because some of the Pharisees did believe. Who some of the Pharisees?
They didn't believe in Jesus.
Joseph of Arimathea believed in Jesus. Even Zacchaeus. I think Zacchaeus was one of the Pharisees.
Yeah. That's why it wouldn't make sense, because they believed in Jehovah, but they didn't believe in Jesus. So in context, they would have to talk about Jesus. But I don't want to hold you up. I thank you for.
So looking back on this, I let her wiggle herself out of this by not reading the Isaiah verse first. And, this is John talking in John. And he's quoting Isaiah. But at the end, you can see how verse 41 and verse 42, you would have to change the context to try to make it seem what she's saying. And, if we read the scriptures faithfully, that's not what it's saying. They didn't believe in Jesus because they didn't believe who he was claiming to be and who he was saying he was. That was the reason. They believed in Jehovah. So to say that means Jehovah and then switch to Jesus, that doesn't make sense. Jehovah's, and you can see where Jehovah's Witnesses, they reference the Isaiah verse. So, but this is what Dr. James White says. He goes into detail on how to approach this. So as a Christian, when you see the Jehovah's Witnesses, walk them through these scriptures. And, I get so excited because I don't see them out there that much when I go out. So when I do see them, when I do know where they're going to be at, it's so exciting. So I'm like ahead of myself. So I rushed that example. So, but we can all learn from my mistakes, learn from what I did wrong. And I just wanted to put this up so you guys can see. But here's the James White clip.
I would use their Bible. Go ahead and use their New World Translation. It's not going to bother you here. And I would say, would you read me a text about Jehovah from the Psalms? Okay, sure. Well, Psalm 102, verses 25 through 27. All right. And I'd turn there with them. And could you read these verses for me? All right. Well, it says, now this is New American Standard. This is an NWT. But as of old you found the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. Even they will perish, but you endure. And all of them will wear out like a garment. Like clothing you will change them, and they will be changed. But you're the same, and your years will not come to an end. So now, who's this about? At the beginning of Psalm 102, can you tell me who this is about? Well, it says, "Hear my prayer, O Jehovah." And in their Bible, it will say Jehovah. Okay. And if you just look, for example, verse 21, that men may tell the name of Jehovah in Zion. So this is about Jehovah, right? Right. Okay. And it's saying that Jehovah is immutable, unchangeable, right? It's talking about how he founded the earth. They will perish, but you endure. All of them will wear out like a garment. Like clothing, you will change them. They will be changed. You are the same. Your years will not come to an end. This is all about how Jehovah God is absolutely unchanging. He's the creator of all things, right? Well, yeah. You're not saying anything that they're going to disagree with at this point. But they're going to be a little surprised if you're using the name Jehovah. Because most Jehovah's Witnesses think we don't know anything about the name Jehovah. They really do. They think they're the only ones who know the name. Okay, So this couldn't describe anyone else. I mean, only Jehovah is the creator of all things. Only Jehovah doesn't change, right? Yeah. Okay. Keep your finger there and turn with me to Hebrews chapter 1. Hebrews chapter 1. Now, this is where you have to, if you do this right, I've done it many times, it's extremely powerful. Don't rush it. Okay? Start a few verses back. Start, for example, you can start all the way back at verse 6 if you want to. And when he again brings the firstborn into the world, he says, and let all the angels of God worship him. Now, the New World Translation won't translate that right. It'll say, let all the angels of God do obeisance to him. They're trying to hide the deity of Christ. Don't even worry about it. Don't even argue about it. This is about Jesus, right? This is about the Son, right? Yes, this is about the Son. Verse 7, and of the angels, he says, who makes his angels winds and his ministers a flame of fire, but of the Son, he says, your throne, O God, is forever and ever, and the righteous scepter is the scepter of his kingdom. You have loved righteousness and hated lawlessness. Therefore, God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of gladness above your companions. Now, again, the New World Translation mistranslates that too. Don't worry about it. The point is the connecting phrase at the beginning of verse 8. But of the Son, he says, and then you have a quotation from the Old Testament. Verse 10, and, which continues what? Speaking of the Son, you, Lord, in the beginning laid the foundation of the earth, and the heavens the works of your hands. They will perish, but you remain. And they all will become old like a garment, and like a mantle you roll them up, like a garment they will also be changed. But you are the same, and your years will not come to an end. And in their own New World Translation, there will be a little footnote next to verse 10. And in the center column, it'll say Psalm 102, 25 through 27. And it gets just as silent as it just did when they read that. Because most of them have been going door to door for years. No one's ever shown them that. And so what you do in that silence is you do not sit back and go, gotcha. That's what some people want to do. What you do in that silence is you say, now, if you've never had an opportunity to look at this before, could you look into that and get back to me? And could I show you one more? I've never had one say no. They're in shock. They're not used to talking to Christians who, A, know their Bible. And by the way, you know why I emphasized what I did when I read Psalm 102? Because there are some other places where Jesus identifies Jehovah, but the attributes that are identified could also be applied to others. Those words they already agreed in Psalm 102 could only be applied to whom? Jehovah God. Why then does the writer of Hebrews so plainly apply them to Jesus as an unchanging, unchangeable creator, not a creation? That's why you emphasize it up front. Okay? So I say, could I show you one more? And that's what we'll do. We'll do one more, then we'll wrap up.